Hello, hi, I'm John Yori, President of United Soldiers and Sailors of America, and I'm here with Javier. Javier, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, Javier Jimenez, I'm VP of Government Relations for USASOA.
Great, and then we also have joining us now, we have Steve McNelly, our Board Chair for United Soldiers and Sailors of America. Hey, Steve, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great, John. Hey, good evening, Javier.
Good. Yeah, we're here tonight, as some of you may have read in the post leading up to this live stream to discuss food insecurity in the military, especially among our low-income military families. Usually, they're younger, generally have one baby, maybe two, who are experiencing this type of again food insecurity. So our organization, as a response to what we've seen ourselves and who we've heard from, we created a program, as you'll see behind me, Food for Troops. And what we've done is through our collection drives, our multifaceted approach to our collection drives, we collect food and other essentials. And with partnership with Joint Base Andrews and Garrison Command at U.S. Army Base Fort Belvoir in Virginia, we're able to get on base and distribute food on a monthly basis and other essentials that they might need. And that goes as far as, especially when we're talking about young families, we're talking about husbands and wives that are anywhere from 19, 20 up into their mid 20s. They're not making a lot of money and they're having a very difficult time making ends meet. One in particular, a Lance Corporal that's actually from stationed at Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, and I talked to the couple and I asked them why they weren't able to use their vehicle. They had a vehicle in the driveway and they're not able to use it. They can't afford the insurance on it. So by us coming in and once a month and contributing, dispersing, say 100 to 125 to $150 worth of food for that month, they're able to go ahead and use that money to pay for insurance so the car is on the road. So this is basically, our response, our organization's response to a direct challenge that they're facing. So we're actually going to be at Fort Belvoir in Virginia this coming Saturday, May 20th. And if anyone is in the DC area, Northern Virginia or Maryland area would like to volunteer, help us, set up. We set up a pop-up store, grocery store, and they go shopping. And we'll have that at noon at Fort Belvoir, at I believe at the Woodlawn Chapel on base. And so we're going to get there about 9 o'clock in the morning, set everything up. Our truck arrives, get our volunteers to set up a pop-up store. And we like to tell them, look, this is not a food pantry. This is not charity. Your service has already paid for this food. This bill has already been paid for by your service to our nation. So we don't want people to feel like that is charity. It's not charity. It's what every American should be doing to help ease the burden that they're experiencing. When I have a 20-year-old military spouse come to me and say, at the end of the month, we run out of Pampers, and everybody knows nowadays that inflation is hitting every American family very hard, especially working class families, especially our young military who do not make enough money to live on. And she tells me, toward the end of the month, I'm literally using paper towels as diapers. I mean, that cannot happen. Anybody that hears that should be outraged. These are the first ones that we ask to go to any kind of a military conflict. They are the ones that are on the front line with their boots on the ground. And to have this happen to them, not only does that interfere with and also damage military readiness, unit cohesion, but also the stress that it places on each and every one of their families. So, we have to do better than this. We can do better than this. And as a result, our organization came up with the Food for Troops program. And we want to thank so many people who contribute food. We have an online Amazon food store where people anywhere in the country can go and donate food, send food for a few dollars. We'll go to this cause. We'll go to this program. We partner with various grocery stores in our area, Giant Food being one of them. We have terrific partners at the Knights of Columbus here in Bethesda, Maryland, that these guys will go out and even including our volunteers will go out on a Saturday morning from 9 to 1 and collect food, hand out cards telling people that why we're collecting this food and where it's going to. And the response, once the American people are aware of this situation, first off, they're outraged. And then the second thing is, how can I help? And this is the second thing. This is how you can help. The outrage comes next as I let both Steve and Javier, who's in charge of our government relations, talk about the Military Hunger Prevention Act, because military hunger is real. And so the outrage can come in that part when they talk to you about the legislation. We've been working both with Senator Tammy Duckworth's office and Senator Lisa Murkowski's office, trying to enact legislation that would remedy the situation that they're facing right now. So I'm going to turn this over to Javier and let him discuss where we are, and then to Steve. And Javier, talk about the language, the bill, where we are with the bill right now. And we were just having, before we went live, we were just having a discussion about that.
Okay. Thank you, John. So very happy to be here and lending, helping those that are helping us even more so. So before I get into the bill, I want to provide a little bit of some background and context into this bill. While the Food for Troops program provides support and has filled a gap or a small void in the meantime, legislation to try to enact the right language and the right actions to help our troops is critical. Now, the challenge is trying to pass several pieces of legislation at the same time, which has been tried in the past, only to no avail, because there's a lot of misinformation. There's also a lot that's not understood. When we met with Senator Murkowski's office and Senator Duckworth's office, it was about one piece of legislation. It's called Senate Bill 497. It's called the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008. That's how far back it goes. And what this bill does, it's a fix to a temporary solution. The challenge our troops are facing, especially those that do not have enough to eat, when they go request assistance for SNAP benefits, or it used to be called food stamp program, they don't qualify because their housing allowance counts as income. So that automatically places them outside of the requirements. We know there's roughly about 20 to 24% that would otherwise qualify, but sadly enough, it's only about 2% of our U.S. troops are actually qualified for the food assistance program. So what this bill intends to do is to provide a short-term gap, which is to eliminate the housing allowance as being counted as income, which means that when they go into to request help, only their base pay will be counted as part of the requirement, which will automatically qualify at least 10% more than what they used to be before. So it helps solve part of the problem, but it's not the full problem. Now, what's happened is Senator Murkowski and Senator Duckworth introduced the bill, and that also has 17 other sponsors from both parties. So there is bipartisan support for the bill. It's not a politicized environment, which is great news for us. The bill has been sent to the Agriculture Committee, which is where the Agriculture Department is, who controls and who writes for legislation for the SNAP program. It's still in committee right now. It hasn't advanced, as you guys well know, and some of you may know, is a lot of the debate's still going on about the budget, and there's obviously, they're trying to compromise. So we urge everyone to contact your senator and request and ask him to support Senate Bill 497, which is really a way for our troops to be able to eat and not to have to suffer food insecurity. Again, the Senate Bill 497, it's currently in the committee right now, and we're hoping that it passes, so at least it gets us in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction, so we can start making more progress to be able to make sure that we eliminate food insecurity altogether.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. I think what we're dealing with now, obviously, is politics, quite honestly. And what we want to hone down on is more or less the policy. How do we best affect the kind of change that the troops need? That I say troops, I also include that their military families also. Military families, as we know, also serve. And they're the ones, it's usually the one, again, I want to reiterate that it's usually the younger ones, the low income families, the younger low income families that are experiencing this type of drastic, I would say, food insecurity. Now, Steve will talk about military resiliency, and that is a very real characteristic in our military. And what it does, unfortunately, it does at times, while it is a good character to have, it's a great thing to have in our military, it also hampers any kind of open discussion or ability to even talk about the problems and the situation that they're having with food insecurity, not being able to make it through the month. So we tend to want to be that voice for them, and it also relates back to going to a food pantry itself. That whole term, food pantry, that alone prevents them from going. There's this sense, again, military readiness. There's a sense, I can do this. I can get through this, and that's fantastic. We need that kind of attitude. We need that strength in our military, and we have it, make no mistake. However, when it comes to families, when it comes to your wife or your husband or your children, especially little ones, doing without proper nutrition or food for that matter, then we need to have an open discussion. Then everything's off the table because everything is back on the table. And with that in mind, I want to kick this off to Steve, who can talk a little bit more about that. And actually, Steve is active duty. He's a senior master sergeant. Sorry, Steve. Senior master sergeant at Joint Base Andrews in the Air Force. Take it away, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, John and Javier. Excellent points there. I had the opportunity to actually go with John and Javier up on the Hill a couple months ago to the senator's office. And to Javier's point, see how long it actually takes for legislation to actually pass and go through. This has been a known problem for many, many years, as Javier alluded to. Ever since 2008, we've been trying to, get that extra assistance to our military communities that need it most. And John spoke about, mainly about the junior enlisted. I've actually seen some, families that are struggling in E5 and E6s, which is in the NCO tier, that we haven't seen before, just in most recent times. So it's kind of like across the enlisted board, if you would, anywhere from E6 and below. And, we've learned, particularly from a first sergeant that actually had come up to us and met John and myself when I was doing the food distribution out of my home there on Fort Belvoir military housing. He was actually supplying a lot of this food to the soldiers in his platoon. And they just wouldn't, John wanted me to talk about resiliency. They just they don't want leadership to know actually that they have problems. Because that's kind of a sign of weakness. And we're taught resiliency to be resilient and to carry on the mission and deploy and kind of do what we're told almost at a moment's notice. And while this legislation is good, we have the opportunity as an organization to set up kind of boots on the ground and help people out and actually show up. Partnering with the USASOA a little while ago, we had a great partnership with the USASOA to Fort Belvoir. We came to set up an hour and a half before the event. There was people already lined up, even before we opened up the doors with bags waiting to get items. And they were just so grateful. And I tell you what, a lot of these people, they're not greedy at all. They're thankful, You know, we tell them take what you can take, right? But they really don't want to take much, and they're kind of hesitant. So it's our job when we go around there. We see, you know, we ask them, hey, how many kids do you have? You know, we try to get real personal with those people and learn exactly what they're going through. So that way, when we have these interactions up on the Hill with the senator's office, we could speak particular about those cases. And I tell you what, you know, in having conversations with the senators and the office there and the staff, they are getting a lot of those calls, but we need you to make more of those calls, as Javier kind of pointed out, because that's really the only way we're going to get this thing passed is if we act together. We have a lot of organizations in the military that actually advocate for the same thing, and I always thought that that was crazy and dumb to do that, but actually that we're united as a force, actually. So the more we actually get together and we combine and we even though we have the same, you know, the same goal in mind, we have different lines of effort about going about that. But you know, this is an awesome program that I take part of day in and day out. Like anytime we have the opportunity to go out there and talk to servicemen and women, you know, to learn exactly what they're faced with, what they're going through, you know, $50 in the store doesn't go very far. I just went to Safeway to go get some groceries and I came home with like 5 or 6 items. You know, it really doesn't go that far. So we need not only your help to reach out to the senators, to your respective senator, to let them know to pass this bill, you know, to let them know that you support it. And also we need help for the Food for Troops program as well, because we can act a lot quicker than obviously a lot of these bills that go through and everything like that. And the senators need to hear it. You know, they need to hear from you, the people, on what course of action you would like to see. And frankly, you know, as John talked about, we should not be going through this right now. There's just no way that you know, our military should be showing up at food pantries, you know, for these kind of items. But it is a reality of the situation, and we're dealing with it, and we're going to help them out, you know, because they took that oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And kind of, as John pointed out time and time again, it's our duty to kind of take care of them, you know, and they're resilient as heck and thankful and grateful as all get up. I tell you what. So I would encourage you to go out to our Amazon food pantry store, follow us on our website on what we're doing. Reach out to any members of our leadership team as well. We'd love to hear from you as well, you know, including your senator's office, as we talked about time and time again. But feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns about anything. This is a phenomenal program in which, you know, I'm looking forward to this Saturday and helping load up a truck on Friday to get all those food and supplies out to our troops that need it the most. So thank you for all your support. We greatly appreciate you tuning in tonight and taking the time to learn more about the Food for Troops program and kind of what we're doing behind the scenes, what Javier's helping out with and John's helping out with. And you know, we're united, you know, as a country. And our only way to, you know, help rectify this issue that we're facing right now with food insecurity is to have your support. And we need your support as Americans in this. And like I said, we're all united to get this done. And thank you once again for your support.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Hey,
Yeah.
John, if I can add something, John, it won't take long, I promise. So we have to to understand what we're asking and what we're trying to do, we have to understand what's at stake. And what are the effects of food insecurity, right? So you can look at it in a couple of ways. One is, first and foremost, it impacts readiness. There's no doubt about that. Because you can't defend our country if you're worried about whether your family and your child have enough to eat. Second, also, and one thing we're seeing today is that there's challenges to retention. There's challenges to recruitment. You know, my daughter is just about to join the Navy, and she was telling me that when she went to speak to the recruiter, they were salivating at the mouth. Not only because she's joining, but also the fact that she scored extremely well on the ASVAB. They were like doing anything they could so she wouldn't change her mind. But the other thing too, and what's more important, is what it does to the family, right? Look what it does it impacts child development. When a young child does not have enough to eat and they're having to cut corners, something has happened to this child that is not progressing or developing the way they should be. They don't have the right nutrition. That means they can't learn in school. So if this goes on for too long, by the time they get to middle school, they're going to be behind, and that might be too late at that point. But the other thing too that I saw when I was on active duty, I can't tell you how many times I saw young families, soldiers that did not have enough money to pay the bills, go and get a payday loan.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's legislation that passed that caps it, but it still caps it at a very high rate. They're still paying 50% interest rate when you go get a loan. So just imagine you borrow $500 on the 10th, and on the 15th or the 30th, you have to pay $750. That's $250 that you can use for something that you need. So it just the effect, causal effect of food insecurity is multifaceted, and it impacts everybody. It has tentacles that are that have far reach. So again, we implore you to go out and get your senators to support this legislation and do what you can to help. If you want to volunteer, get a hold of us. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think you hit it on the nose. Something we hadn't mentioned yet was both military retention in the ranks, people, what that means, people staying in, and then also recruitment. Now, think about this. The majority of what we call our boots on the ground, the young ones that aren't being taken care of, quite honestly, and we can say that because we know it to be true. We know it to be true. We're out there. We know it. We've been out there for a year doing this program. Okay, we hear it from them. We know what they're going through. We understand what they're going through. The entire country is going through high inflation. But yet when you have a reduced salary the way that they do, okay, they're experiencing it even more because they're not making enough money to feed themselves and feed their families. Now, if you have a young service member out there, 21 years old, he comes from Texas, Illinois, wherever it might be, and he has a friend saying, hey, how's the military? I might join up. And his he's explained to his buddy, well, look, I got a baby, and look, I'm calling home to my mom and dad to give us some extra money so we can make it through the month, so we can buy formula, we can buy Pampers, or we can buy food. And his mom and dad, they're working class people too. They don't have that money, but they do. They give it up. They find it. They work harder. So they work 2 jobs. This is the state of affairs that we're dealing with. So the repercussions continue to go down. It trickles through the family unit as well. And then you talk about retention and recruitment. Who, like you said, your daughter has a recruiter salivating because the recruitment centers might as well just close up. Word travels quick with social media. I think the military kind of forgets that on social media, nothing is quiet anymore. Everyone is talking. So everyone is experiencing this in the military right now, our young families, the low income, NCOs, as Steve was talking about, they're not going to come. They'll go work at McDonald's or at Starbucks for $18 an hour instead of what they're getting from the military when they first sign up. So we have to consider that. We have to consider, okay, what do we do to resolve that in order to keep a strong military? What do we do? And now we have right now somewhat bipartisan activity for this bill, for this legislation. But right now, everything's kind of at a standstill because of the budget. What's going on with the budget on Capitol Hill? So we have enough money. It's just how do we properly apply the money that's effective to our military and to resolve these issues. We can do it. We just need the desire, and we need to resolve, and we need people to contact their senators to make this happen. They will listen to you. They're politicians. They're going to listen to you. But you have to make the call. You have to take the time. These are young families, or your young service members that are providing you with your freedom, your way of life. And bar any problems we have in society right now, the division, whether it's contrived or not, we still have the best way of life in the world. And it's only because we have a strong military. Do we want to see that military decrease and fail? Or do we want to apply resolve to it and make it work for them? If we take just a portion of what the Pentagon gets, just a small portion. Then we can go and do SNAP, right, Javier? We can do that. We can increase things. We can make life easier for them. They're not asking for the world. They're just asking to have enough food to eat and to buy Pampers and to buy formula and the things and pay for their car insurance. That's all they're asking for. And that's, I think that's the very least that we can all do, correct? Am I right, guys? Is that the very least we can do? So with that being said, I'll kick it back to Steve. Let Steve finish up and Javier finish up, and we'll be at our 30 minutes. We wanted to keep this at 30 minutes. So Steve, I'll let you and Javier have the last words here.
Okay. Well, I just want to say again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to address everyone here and talk about something that's critically important to our nation, but also something that I think all of us are very passionate about. We're volunteers. Nobody's paying us to say this. Okay, we're doing this out of our because we believe in the mission. We do this because we care about our country. We care about our troops. I was one for 10 years. John was one. Steve still is. And let me tell you something. And I said this to someone today. To me, serving this country is the gift that keeps on giving. In many ways, I see it in my family. My daughter's doing it now. I see it in the people that I work with. I work for an organization that supports our military. So I'm very proud to do this work, and I hope you are too. And more to come.
Great. Steve, we should get the final word, buddy.
Oh, hey, cool. Thanks, John and Javier. Javier hit on a point that I totally forgot. I've been in military recruitment for 14 years, and I've noticed a huge difference right now. We have so many issues recruiting people. This is certainly going to hurt us in the long run with recruiting and retention. And what I mean by that is, people are leaving the military. The 300,000 members leave the military every single year. And we want to make sure if they do leave and they get out, that they leave with not with a sour taste in their mouth, because they, had trouble providing for their families and stuff like that. The military is supposed to provide for us. They give us a housing allowance. They give us a supplement for food, which isn't very much. They give us a paycheck, and, they give us health care, which is extremely important. But we definitely want to make sure that they're prepared if they do decide to leave. And also, too, when they get out, they could tell their friends that they've had such a great experience. And we want that certainly to translate over. And I'm glad you guys hit that point as far as recruitment and retention, because that's key to filling our military. I would just encourage you guys to just, like I said, go out there and talk to your senator. There's strength in numbers. Go out to our Amazon Food Bank store. This is a tremendous program that we do. We are basically on the ground doing something every single weekend. We got something going on. And the food distribution drives and the support that we get from a community is amazing. We will continue doing what we do, but we as Americans need to do our part as well, so that we get that message through for this, so this legislation can move forward. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to finish up by saying a few thank yous to both Garrison Command at Fort Belvoir, especially Lieutenant Colonel Ryder, who has been instrumental in securing space for us to do what we have coming up this coming Saturday at Fort Belvoir, our Food for Troops distribution. So we're thankful to them and to the Garrison Command in general for acknowledging the food insecurity, and that we have the ability to affect some sort of change. If it's just one time a month, that helps. We also want to thank the chaplains over at Joint Base Andrews. We also distribute food there. We've been doing that for quite some time. So I want to thank the chaplains at Chapel One over there. They're fantastic. Again, instrumental in making this happen on their end. And then we also have, I said, the volunteers that we have are terrific as well. We have the greatest bunch of volunteers, I think, ever. And just I want to thank our sister organization, Irreverent Warriors, and Matt Johnson. He's always out there as well. And Irreverent Warriors, they come out, they're volunteers and come out and help. the Knights of Columbus with Alex, everybody. So this is, like Steve said, just very much a joint effort, a joint. It's not about us. It's not about our organization. It's about the mission. And so we're always welcoming other organizations, other folks, other people, whether you're in colleges, schools, places of worship, individuals, come join us. So you can see our website is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can go there. There's a volunteer page there. We have a full list of events coming up, as Steve mentioned. I think we have everything every weekend coming up. We have something. We do barbecue for our heroes at Walter Reed. We're doing that in June and also in July. We've been doing that since 2014. So anyway, check us out. Go to our website. Make sure you contact your senator, please. Find out who it is and make a phone call. Send an email. It works. It really works. They'll listen to you. If they get enough calls and enough emails, they'll move on it. And this deserves to be something that everyone should engage in. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to us. We want to keep this at 30 minutes, and because we know how social media can be. And so I hope you hung in there with us, and we'll be giving updates again soon. Go to our website. If you want to help, please do. If you're available this coming Saturday, we do need extra volunteers. So again, thanks everybody, and we will be back in touch soon. Thank you.